Looks like we got audio and screen. Very nice. Oh, wow. Everybody. Cool. Thank you. Fantastic. Oh, wow. You guys are like all over the hands too, because you guys are all taking them back down again. You guys are on the ball. All right. Thank you. Appreciate that. All right. So we got about actually top of the hour. All right, folks, welcome. First of all, thank you very much for making time out of your schedules on a Thursday afternoon. I really appreciate your time and what you folks do out there. There's no way I could do that. I sit behind a desk and play with technology. So I appreciate what you do in terms of providing security and safety for our communities. So again, much, much appreciated. With that, a couple rules of the road, sort of housekeeping stuff before we begin. Number one, with regards to the questions for the content itself, please keep all the questions to the end. There is a Q&A button somewhere on your Zoom toolbar, so please find that button and throw your questions in there as we go, and I will address all questions at the end to make sure everybody's got all their questions answered. I'll be sticking around until the tail end of all this. Excuse me. Additionally, this is recorded. We recorded the morning session as well, so I'll pick the best from the two sessions, and we're going to be posting that so that everybody can review it if you need to, or for those colleagues who are not able to join us, that'll be posted for their review as well. So, with that, let's get started. So, alrighty. So, welcome again. Thank you so much. This is the more features training, kind of a continuation of the original features training we did it back a couple months ago, actually a month and change, something like that. And so that's today. Let's get into the agenda. First of all, we're going to do a welcome and introduction, which is actually almost completed. Then we're going to do a quick update. We're going to focus on the first of a couple of different tools that we're launching, and that is the cross search analytic. I'll get into the naming and so on and so forth in just a bit, but that's one of them. We're going to be spending most of the training on cross search because that is the more complicated one, and I think it will bring the most value to you and your fellow officers. Secondly, we're going to do enhancements to the camera map. We got a bunch of extra stuff on the map, which will make your lives easier and more productive. So we're going to go through that one. And we'll wrap up the features, which with the watch list enhancements, which essentially make it just easier to work with and play around with watch lists and get alerts. And then towards the end, we're going to, of course, wrap up and do some Q&A. So, alrighty, with that, let's get to it. That's me, Frank Zadroga. I'm from the PlateSmart operations team, among other things, and I do a bunch of stuff over here, including some of the training. That's my email address. Please feel free to write me with any particular questions. Keep in mind that I am just one dude, so if you do have a burning question or a need, I don't want to slow things down. So please, probably the better way to do it, which we'll cover at the end, is write support@platesmart.com. That's easier way to get more or to get quicker support, put it that way. And it also creates a ticket for you that you can track and work through. So otherwise, feel free, and I will definitely respond to emails. So hit me up if you got any questions. Okay, some quick highlights, kind of overview. We are still growing. As of the last slide, for those of you who were present in the previous training, we have grown. We got a couple other agencies involved, so we now got 145 plus. We still have over 1 billion license plates available for your investigative needs. So you got 6 months worth of data retention on the system and over a billion plates across those 6 months available for investigative. We continue to maintain well, actually pretty high, like really high, like 99+% uptime. So very stable across, over 1,450 cameras. You guys can log in and take a look at the number of cameras and the number of LPR reads in the system. So we're pleased to be able to say that. And also we maintain the really, really fast alerting in the industry. Also, it's not on here, but I just want to do honorable mention. We naturally are actually worldwide. We do a bunch of things across the world, but we also, of course, importantly, we're across the United States, and we work a lot with a whole bunch of law enforcement agencies across the U.S. And we just recently heard really good news from New Jersey. So we are if not already, we will be excitingly announcing that we are going to be fully compliant with New Jersey SNAP. So that should be coming out here in a day or so. So we're so excited to do that. So essentially, we will be able to essentially open up all of New Jersey. And so at least at some point in the future, we'll be able to work there. So that's exciting. Next, where have we come from? Just a quick review for those of you who were on the training a month and a half ago or so. We did win an evaluation and a kind of an overall assessment back when we went direct to all the agencies in Western Pennsylvania. So we took care of that. That was back in 22, 23. 23, we launched with the Western Pennsylvania Chiefs Association and all the associated counties. So we launched there, and that was direct PlateSmart to the agencies with no middle person there. We also launched about a year later the integration of PlateSmart Vision, which is integration of video into the system with license plate recognition, so they are tied in there. And we'll be covering a little of that today. Then we launched a dedicated team for Pennsylvania to support everyone out there. So you guys support us, we support you. We've got Joe Kenya. He is a former officer from the city of Pittsburgh on the traffic side of things. And so he's there, boots on the ground, and able to help out with just about anything you need. So please help hit him up with any questions. His contact information and everything will be presented towards the end. So save there, and I will get that info to you here in just a bit. Also, again, we hit the billion plates mark, I don't know, a couple of months ago or so. Like, I think it's going on 3, 4 months now. And we did a September release for all of the really cool features that are out already. And of course, we're going to be adding to that feature set today. And there's yet more to come towards the back end of this year. So we got a few more cool things and surprises coming up for everybody towards the end of this year. So we continue to innovate and get stuff out to you. With regards to that, some of the big highlights that are coming out, I know there's been some couple questions around user self-service tools, meaning, hey, can I manage my agency's users, add, remove, things like that. That is on the list and in the works. The other big one is, can we have the ability to display a vehicle or report a vehicle that has no license plate visible? And the short answer is yes. We're going to be getting there. The target for that is at the end of this year. So we are already working through that. We're already piloting it. I know I've said that several times. It is a rather complex effort, way above my skill set. So I'm trusting those folks that do this, but it is on the list, and definitely we are targeting to get that out before the end of the year. So exciting stuff coming up, and there'll be a few other nuggets that I'll show you in the system that are also planned for the very near future. So, all right. So let's get into the training here today, and let's tackle the following new features for today's training. So number one, we're going to do the cross search analytic. That's kind of top right. Cross search analytic, and let me actually back up. The name for the cross search analytic came from a request. Actually, credit where credit is due. So as we say, shout out to Detective Ging. Thank you very much for the feedback. I think you're one of the originals back in the day that gave us the feedback. History behind this is, hey, we had a whole bunch of results. Officers were doing searches instead of PlateSmart finding those results, but there wasn't any way of kind of like cross-referencing different locations and different times and to find, what are the common plates between them. So fast forward to today, essentially we have now brought that to everybody, and it'll be launched very soon, like either end of day today or tomorrow. So it'll be available to everybody. Essentially, Detective Ging and other officers were using Excel, basically downloading the results, putting it into Excel, doing some fancy Excel stuff, and then coming up with the results of common plates across different locations and times. We have taken that use case and added to it and made a pretty robust tool, as you're going to see in here a little bit, to be able to give you the opportunity to compare and contrast results from different times and also different locations. So cross search, quote unquote, comes from, hey, the cross referencing of data between different locations and different times. That's essentially what we came up with. We're also going to look at the enhanced camera map. So we have added a few things there, making it easier to use across all different types of cameras, meaning the LPR cameras as well as the Plate Smart Vision cameras. So that's pretty cool. And also, we have made watch lists a bit easier. So that's also going to be easier to use. So I'll show you how that works. All right, so without further ado, let me give you some kind of quick highlights of what's coming up next, and then we'll hop into the live training. So here's a quick snippet of the cross-search analytic results, or at least partial results, as we're going to go through here in a bit. But basically what it does is, it, like I described, it compares different locations at different times, lets you get those results back, and then, of course, delivers that information to you on screen so you can take a look at all the different regions that come up. On the map view, here's a quick preview. We've got the purple icons there are the ones that are Plate Smart Vision cameras, and the black ones are the ones that are specifically LPR. And so I'll go through some of the details there and how to work with it, how to search. You can draw circles around it, search and look for what cameras are where much more easily. So excited to put that one in there. So we'll cover that. And also want to get into watch list enhancements. Watch lists have been out there. We got a few extra pieces that I'll go review really from the first training, but also we made it easier just to add a plate to the watch list because we realized that trying to copy and paste stuff and move it over and get in there and find your watch list and so on was a little bit of a task, put it that way, and a little bit clicky, as we say. So we've streamlined that. So now we have quick shortcuts in a variety of places to be able to add a watch list, or sorry, add a license plate to your watch list really easily and quickly. So that's also going to be there, and I'll demo that. So let's get started. Let me queue up the system, and if I can find it. There it is. Okay. So as normal, this is the Plate Smart system. Quick background, this is a staging environment. So this has borrowed data from the live system. So it is, a little bit behind, or it's a little bit older data, but it has been borrowed from the main system that you're used to make it easier to present, explain, as well as, work with and test, put it that way. So let's sign in. So as usual, you'll notice the look and feel is going to change just a little bit. We are going through and making changes there. But as normal, put in your username, put in your password, click sign in. And here's a little bit of a surprise that we that kind of held back. But yes, as of tomorrow at the latest or later today, two-factor authentication will be in the system. So please feel free and use it. Pretty much everybody's got to use it. Sorry, a email address and a mobile phone number in the system. So I would definitely, if you don't know for sure if you do or don't have one, because we've done a check, but I would encourage you just to go check your profile. I'll show you where that is in a bit, but just check your profile to make sure you have your valid email address and your valid phone number to make sure that two-factor is going to work for you. On two-factor, there is a skip button for now. That skip button is going to be available for at least a couple weeks. And at most 1 month. Okay, so we're just going to basically allow it to be there, or provide it to be there for the next up at most 30 days for a transition period, really, to make sure that we get the word out, and also a couple of kinks, if anything shows up, ironed out, so we don't prevent anybody from logging in. Otherwise, works great. I've been using it for quite a while, so fantastic. So let me send myself a code. As usual, oops, I fat fingered that one. I just gotta, oops. There we go. So where is my text message? Okay. What do we got? 3674. Okay. So you put in your code as usual, with two-factor authentication, then it logs you in. Okay. So that's exciting. Please use that, and we'd love to get feedback from everybody. Now, to double check your email address and your phone number, just to double check, make sure, on the main screen, or actually pretty much every screen here, you'll see a teal blue circle kind of on the top right, depending on whether or not you have the search filters enabled. Click on the teal blue circle. You can manage your profile. And then, of course, in here, you can change your email address and phone number. Don't get that confused with your username, because most of you have a username as your email address. But the email that the system will be sending to is the one right here, labeled email. And of course, your phone number is the one right below that. So Make sure you have both of those, and that way the system can send you the two-factor authentication. And we'll be making sure everybody's stuff is updated anyway, but just double check while you're on the roll. Okay, so let's get into it. So as usual, we've got recent vehicles. This is all the data that we've borrowed, kind of a little bit older from the production system. And so let's get into cross search to begin with over here on the left-hand side. If you've recently logged into the production system, you'll notice a cross search is there in the toolbar. However, it's not active. So as of tomorrow at the latest, it may actually get updated tonight. At tomorrow at the latest, cross search will be active and available for you to use. So let's get into it and play around with cross search. Okay, so let's click on cross search. The way this works, and I'm actually going to flip back to the slides here a bit to kind of explain it to you. The way this works is we're going to be adding different searches to make sure that everything is going well. Okay, so so what you do is you add a query, and then when you add a query, you can add up to 5 of them, by the way. You can choose right here at the top in terms of how to structure this and how to relate these queries together or searches. You can choose to include, which is the default, because I think about 90% of the time or even higher, I think most everybody's going to be using include, and I'll get into that, what that means and how that looks here in just a bit. But yeah, include is by default. We also have the option to require the results from your particular search or exclude the results from this particular search. And so it can get a little interesting when you start combining searches, but we'll get into that here in just a bit. So let's get over to the presentation real fast, and let me kind of illustrate what these mean. Okay, so let's start with include. All right, so what does include mean? So let's suppose we have a scenario where we have crime being committed at 3 different locations, call them convenience stores or whatnot. Okay, and so we've got different crimes committed, and we need to do a comparison between these locations and the plates of these different locations to see what the commonalities are. In other words, who's been hanging out at these 3 different locations, so we can better figure out the pattern and hopefully figure out who's not behaving correctly, right? Okay, so if we take 3 searches, each one of these circles represents a search that you set up in the system. I'll show you how to do that here in a bit. And so search 1 is at location 1, call it, convenience store 1, location 2, and location 3. Okay, and I have set each one of these searches to include the search results. So what that means, so location 1 is going to include, location 2 is going to include, and location 3 is going to include. So basically the results that you're going to get at the end are where all of those results that are included overlap. And so that's why the arrows kind of point to that triangle thing in the middle on the Venn diagram that says, hey, look, these overlapping results, this is the result set that you're going to get by including the results from location 1, search 2, and 3. Okay, so that's an example of where you include all. Okay, so let's hold that, and then let's go to the next one, where we have another example of where we have inclusion selected for both locations 3 and 2, which are the ones at the bottom. And we have the option to quote unquote require for location 1. Okay, so the way it works is, let's start with locations 3 and 2 at the bottom. So as we discussed in the previous slide, location 3 and 2, yeah, we're going to include those results, and wherever they overlap, that is going to be included, right? But then we add location 1 to the mix, and then we say location 1 is required. So what it does is it takes all the results from location 1 where they overlap 2 and 3 and says we're going to require all those. And so that's where you get the dark blue highlight. So that would be the result set basically of where you have include on 3 and 2, and then of course require everything that matches those to be represented. So depending on how you're looking for plates across different locations, this may help you quite a bit structure your search. And then the final example here is the final option that you have available to you, which is exclude. So let's go through an example of exclude. Okay, so let's go back to the inclusion, which is probably a typical use case. So we're going to include location 1 and 2 in this case, but we're going to specifically exclude everything in location 3. So in this particular case, location 3, we know anybody who hit here in the last few days, it's like, no, we know everybody there. Whoever went here, we know they're not part of the problem. Okay, so whatever hit here, we're going to exclude completely from the results that we want, from the other two locations. So then location 1 and 2, since they're included, they will deliver the results for you that match between the two of them, but we're going to exclude the stuff that matches 3, right? So that's where that little triangle in the middle gets excluded along with other stuff. And so the only thing that's left is that slice that is specifically matching between location 2 and does not have anything to do with anybody in location 3. So those are the 3 different examples of how include, require, and exclude kind of play back and forth with each other. And you can set those parameters on each particular search depending on what you want. Let me get back. Okay. So for each search, you can choose to require, include, or exclude the results from this particular search. Okay, so by default, let's work with include because I think most of the time folks are going to choose to include. So we're just going to go include. Then we can choose whether we want minimum or maximum occurrences. In other words, minimum by default is 1 because you have to kind of have at least 1 result, right? Otherwise, there's no point in having a search. So minimum occurrence is 1. So when would you increase that? Well, you'd want to increase that in the scenario where it's like, hey, look, if somebody's just driving by the convenience store, stops once for coffee, and then is headed out of state, right, in a rental vehicle or something, who knows? You don't want to, really catch those folks and put those in the result set. So, hey, you know what? Let's just, let's bump the minimum occurrences up just a notch. So at least we have folks that have been there at least 2 times or 3 times or something to that effect, right? Because probably you're trying to catch somebody who's relatively local and has been there more than once, right? So that's an option for you. On the flip side, you can also set maximum occurrences, right? So how would that relate? Well, maximum occurrences are, hey, what about all those folks that stop every single morning for coffee, right, at that location? It's like, well, we really don't want those folks either included in the results because, well, they're probably not the problem, right? The folks that stop by, they're patrons, they come every day for coffee, and get something to eat real quick and then head off to work or whatnot. And so we don't necessarily want to include those folks or, make sure that those folks hit the result set. So we want to set the maximum occurrences. So maybe, I don't know, who knows, maybe 4 or 5 or something like that, depending on, what you're looking for, so that you kind of don't include the, all those folks that are just stopping by every single day because they're usually not the problem. Okay. For now, we're going to leave those just kind of default for the demo, but feel free to play with those values because I can definitely, excuse me, my throat. They can definitely help you out with the results. Next, date ranges. Pretty typical. I've got a little example here queued up, so let me kind of fill this in. So this, what is it, August 20th through the 26th, I think it was. Yep. And we do have the start time and end time, as well as time of day. They work the same as they do in the regular LPR search filters. So start time and end time is the start on the first day, and the end time is the end time on the last day. So it's the entire, that block of time, and you're going to search everything in between. Versus time of day is where you have a start time and an end time every single day. So that's what we're going to plug in for this example. So we're going to do I think it was 5 a.m. And we're going to do an end time, I think was it 7? Yeah, 7 a.m. So we're going to do 7 a.m. Oops, there we go, 7 a.m. So we're going to do 5 a.m. to 7 a.m. every single day. So in other words, we're really only searching the 20th through the 26th between the hours of 5 a.m. and 7 a.m. every day. Okay. If I need to, I can also, whoops, didn't click the mouse. I can choose other vehicle attributes to search for as well to further hone down my results. So if you happen to have maybe a basic description of the vehicle that you're looking for, you can fill in, the state of license plate, the make of the vehicle, the color of the vehicle, the type. And those pretty much work the same way as you would have them in the filters for regular LPR results. Okay. For now, we'll leave those alone. And then the last thing we need to do is pick a location, essentially the cameras that have collected the results. So we're going to click on select cameras. And this is the new camera selector tool. If you've used it, fantastic. If you haven't had a chance to use it, I encourage you to do so. We've got a variety of different ways of picking cameras now, right down to a specific camera. So you've got on the left-hand side the ability to pick a camera group. You can search for the groups up here at the top. So I think in this particular case, we're going to go with McCandless. Before I actually type it in, though, if you notice, we did make a couple of small changes. Everything in parentheses here, these numbers, those represent the number of cameras associated to this grouping. Okay. So we used to have this in alphabetical order. We figured that, and we actually got some feedback that it would be a little bit more useful to kind of set these in numerical order, just to be a little bit easier to use. And so we have done that. So all the big ones are at the top and all the little ones at the bottom. So if you want to scroll through them, it's a lot easier to just kind of see. Otherwise, you're always able to search for it up here. So we're going to type in McCandless, MC, C, and then McCandless is going to show up right here at the top, right? So I'm going to select McCandless and everything else is going to change, right? So these are now all the McCandless cameras previewed for us. And then over here on the far right-hand side, this is the list of cameras that I'm going to actually submit into my search. And so, of course, all the 26 cameras are over here. It says, 26 cameras. If you want to clear one of them, you can, or clear all the batch, you can from the group. Now, if you don't necessarily, let me clear this real fast and we'll go back and I'll just get rid of the search field so we get back to all the groups. If you don't have a specific group and you want to search for individual cameras, you can always click on the map up at the top. Let it load. This is a staging environment, so it is a little bit slow the first time you load the map. After that, it's really fast, but give it a few seconds here and the map will load. Okay, so now that we have all the cameras loaded up here, then you can take your draw tool, right, and draw a circle around them or whatever you want to do. So you can always use the map to pick your cameras as well. And you can, oops, let me just clear this real fast, just to give you a couple examples. You can zoom in, right, really far, and then pick whatever cameras you've got. Once you zoom in really far, like this far, you now get the individual cameras as soon as the dot doesn't cover up that same area. You can use the magic wand, right, to go back and forth, which makes it very useful. Okay, so a couple different ways of picking cameras. You can do the groups, you can do the gallery, and of course you can also do the map. All right, so let's take a look. Let's go back to groups because we're gonna do, oops, yeah, McCandless. We're gonna do McCandless just because that's what we got queued up. Here are my 26 cameras. Fantastic. Let's continue. Throw those cameras, all 26 of them, in a group called McCandless into my search. So I've got all my criteria in there now, right? I'm going to include the results from this one, got the dates, the times, and the cameras. Good to go. Click add. All right, so what it does is it just adds this up here, and you can add another query, and you can keep adding up to 5 of them and keep relating these together so that you can pull the results out. Typically speaking, most likely the queries that you're going, or the searches that you're going to add here are going to be very similar. So instead of having to go back through, add a new query, all that stuff and put in all the same criteria again, just go to more, go to clone. And what it does is it takes all the settings from the first one, clones them over, and then you can just change, whatever details you need to change. So in this case, we're going to include these results, leave the minimums, maximums alone, same date range and time range, but we are going to change the cameras. So I'm going to change cameras. We're going to get rid of McCandless, and we're going to go, I think, McKees Rocks. Okay, so we're going to go to McKees Rocks and basically select those. It looks like there's a total of 20 cameras for McKees Rocks. So we got 20 over here. Click continue. And now what I've done is kept all those settings, just added McKees Rocks as the 20 cameras, and then click save. Okay. So now I've got 2 different searches. They're both as include. So wherever the results overlap, that's the actual results that I'm going to be receiving, right? If I ever need to edit one of these, I can just click the edit button. If I want to do something else like clone or delete it, I can just do it from here as well. Okay. So let's click search. All right. So it goes through and searches. And yes, when it goes into production, it will be that fast. depending on naturally the number of cameras, because if you select a whole ton of cameras, it's going to take a little while longer. But we've got all the different results for you listed here. In terms of these are all the these are all the license plates that were found in both McCandless and McKees Rocks at least one time. That's what the criteria was, right between August 20th and the 26th, somewhere between like 5 a.m. and 7 a.m. each one of those days. Cool. So you get all the results. It orders them by most up at the top, and then of course least number of hits towards the bottom. Okay, so you can take a look at them. Now, for each one of these license plates, you can now also then do a couple things with them, right? So number one, you can view the timeline, which I'll show you here in a bit. That is the timeline of when that vehicle showed up at these locations. But you can also go to more and you can hop off. You can copy the license plate real quickly. You can also search for this vehicle in the regular plate results. You can pull up the travel history analytic and see where they've been. You can also play around with Convoy Finder to find out if there's any other vehicles typically traveling in or around them as a convoy. And that was the training that we did about a month and a half ago or so. So there is a review video, by the way, on that posted on the support page, which I'll show you towards the end of the Q&A session. But yes, you can go to the Convoy Finder and pull that up. Or, of course, you can just add it to your watch list. And this is a quick kind of prequel to what's coming up next on the watch list. This is where there's a couple different places we put it where you can just add things to your watch list really quickly and easily. But I'll show you that here in more detail in just a bit. But that's the more button. For now, let's take a look at timeline. So let's take a look at how many and where the MRC 1405 plate showed up. So this particular plate showed up 8 times across the time range that we selected for cross search. And then it provides you with the heat map of where it was seen in McKees Rocks and where it was seen in McCandless. And it basically provides a heat map for you. So it looks like it's roughly even, right? So we got a heat map dot that's about the same size and colors in both locations. And so over here on the right-hand side, then we have all the LPR results that have matched both locations. And so let's kind of go through it from top to bottom, right? So the first one is August 26th, about 5, almost 6 o'clock in the morning. This is in McCandless. And then it went from McCandless to McKees Rocks, by that same or later on that morning. Actually, I'll take that back. 5:35 in the morning, and then of course it went to McCandless later on that day. So this is the first kind of travel, and then the second one we have a gap of about 23 hours or so, and then you also see on the 25th, which is the day before, it was also in McKees Rocks, and then went up to McCandless. Because McKees Rocks was getting 5:33 and then 5:50. So it looks like this person is probably a commuter, right? Goes from McKees Rocks up to McCandless. It looks like a pretty good pattern, right? Again, 23 hours later, so on and so forth. Okay, so you have a pretty good understanding of where is that vehicle, what is that vehicle doing between the 2 different locations that you've chosen to kind of compare. If you want to go back and check out another vehicle, just hit the back button. The more buttons, the same as I was illustrating earlier, but just click the back button. You go back and you take a look at another plate. So let's take a look at like this one right here as an example. Okay, so this one here, because we selected 5 to 7 in the morning, most all these results are going to be kind of nighttime reads. But yes, again, you have pictures of the vehicles. You've got all the different locations when they are, and of course it does show you that there's a time gap between the sightings on a particular day. So when you are comparing different locations and trying to find common plates across, or excluding certain plates from certain locations, because none of them are involved, sort of deal. We believe that cross search is going to be extraordinarily powerful for you to be able to quickly take a list of what would have originally been, maybe 100,000 plates over a period of a week and whittle it down to maybe 50 or 100 or so. And then you can take a look at these and then hop off there and really have some powerful tools to help you kind of, basically make the investigation run more smoothly. So we are excited to put this out for you, and also definitely going to be welcoming some feedback. So please let us know. Joe Kenya, he's out there, please hit him up. Let him know if you're able to use it or having challenges with it either way. And so we can really see how this tool is helping out in the field. So definitely let us know. We'd be happy to hear about the real stories of how this helps out. Um, for this list, because this list is, maybe 100 or so plates, actually 94 to be exact, 94 plates long. If you ever want to search for a plate, you just do like LPH. And then of course it, can look for plates really quickly in case the list is a little bit longer. Also the filters over here, you can toggle them off, but typically the filters are on, and so you can kind of see your different queries or searches. Once you have this list, let's suppose you go through, you take a look at the list, you compare the two locations, you're like, you know what? Not quite exactly what I was looking for. Let's actually hone it down a little bit more, which is pretty typical, right? You go through, you play around with it, you put some results on there, you take a look at the results, you're like, I think we need a little bit more filtering or a little bit, tougher of a query, a little bit more succinct. And so easily just go back and hit change, goes back to your original setup screen. Got your two searches in there. You can add a new one. You can delete or edit the existing ones, right? Just to help you out and recreate some of the searches. So let me just conclude the cross search training here with this. Cross search can be really simple to use if you use some of the defaults, like I kind of went through and illustrated. It can also get pretty complex, especially when you start layering up to like 5 different searches and relate them to each other with different criteria, right? If it's include, exclude, it'll require some of the results. It can get pretty interesting. And so we are going to produce another training. I'm not quite sure how we're going to do it yet because we're trying to get some examples from the field, but another more in-depth training on just how to work with these different criteria and some best practices, suggestions, because it is powerful, but at the same time, it can be a little bit complex to use. So please get in there, play with it. Definitely use it in the field. We'd love to hear back from you. And that way we can make it better for everybody in the future. Alrighty. So with that, let's move on from cross search and let's take a look at the map feature and some of the enhancements on the map. So let's click on map. So the first thing that we notice with the map here is got a bunch of different icons. Some are black, some are purple. As I alluded to earlier, the black ones are the LPR cameras. The purple ones, which actually are like half black, half purple, because we got LPR and Plate Smart Vision cameras in there. The purple ones are Plate Smart Vision. In other words, the video cameras that we have connected to the system. So if you take, for example, like this area here, and we just start zooming in, okay, we got like 7 and 5 here. We got, notice how the icons are like half black, half purple. As soon as we get zoomed in pretty closely, this is a good example right here. Oh my goodness. Oh, we got 2 of them with the exact same coordinates. That's funny. All right. So we got 3 LPR cameras because they're black, and then we got 2 that are mounted literally on the same pole, so to speak, that are, or actually 4 of them that are mounted on the same pole. And 2 of them are probably Plate Smart Vision, and 2 of them are LPR cameras. Let's go down the road real quick and see if we can get these added. The same scenario here. So you got 2 LPRs and a couple of Plate Smart Vision cameras. Let me show you what the actual icon looks like. Oh, if you ever want to zoom out, because I do this all the time and I keep forgetting about it, click the little magic wand button and it automatically goes back to where you used to be. So it helps you zoom in and out really easily. So you don't have to do the whole mouse scroll wheel thing forever. All right, let's try over here. All right. This is a good one, I think, if I remember correctly. There we go. Okay. So now we have 4 LPR cameras, kind of east, west, south, north type of deal. And we also have 2 Plate Smart Vision cameras. If you notice, put your mouse on it, it shows you kind of what the preview is. Granted, this is, borrowed data from the system. It's a little bit older, but there's your description. That's your name of the camera. And of course, preview of it. Same thing with LPR. You get a little preview on bottom left, so you can kind of see, what these cameras are looking at. Naturally, the LPR cameras are a little bit boring because you're probably looking at asphalt or pavement most all the time, but in essence, there it is. This is a little bit more descriptive, but there you go. So you have previews, go locations, and of course the different icons are video cameras or the LPR icons. We are looking at enhancing, because I did have some questions on this. We are looking at enhancing the icon set to kind of indicate other attributes, for example, direction. So that is in the feedback list. So we'll see if we can't make this a little bit more useful to kind of give you more information on a map like this. So All right, so now that we know kind of how to work with this, as usual, you can use the draw tool, right? Just click the draw tool in the top right, and then you can select whatever you want to, a whole bunch of cameras here. And those cameras get loaded over on the left-hand side. Again, you can mouse over them, you get the little previews of them, as you can see. And all up at the top, you can see that we are currently on the LPR tab versus the video camera tab. So if I click over to video, these are all the video cameras that are selected with my circle. From here, I can kind of see the snapshot, the preview, and I can also jump right from here and go see the recorded video of this location and also the live video from this location. Currently, the staging environment for security purposes, testing purposes, and everything else is not hooked up directly to Seeplate Smart Vision cameras. So we do have the preview shots, but in production, like later today or tomorrow, you can click on record or live and pull video. With that, on the top right-hand corner, we also have a couple of things going on. We have the ability to kind of add or remove layers from this map. One layer is LPR. In other words, just leave the Plate Smart Vision cameras up. The other layer is the LPR. Just leave the LPR cameras up. By default, they're both selected with different color icons. And also, quick sneak peek into the future. We can see a couple of things here that are kind of grayed out. They're not available yet, but they are in the works. For example, this map is eventually going to accommodate recent alerts of the alerts that are on your hot lists, watch lists, so you can see kind of where the alerts are coming from. We already have the alerts in a heat map per watch list. I'll show you that here in a bit when we get to the watch list part. But that's also coming to this map, just FYI. You can also, will also be able to see live alerts on the map. That'll be exciting. That'll be kind of cool. We can kind of see them pop up and stuff. We're working on that piece for all those watch lists that you are subscribed to. And of course, then we're also going to be displaying some outages. Okay, in other words, different cameras or locations that are currently out of service for one reason or another. So we've got somebody backed into the pole, lightning struck. You guys have storms out there occasionally. Actually, some pretty bad storms. And it tends to knock out equipment, whether that's just because of electricity or because the internet or the signals go down, whatever that may be. The map will be able to tell you really easily, what's going on in terms of outages. So that'll help everybody, right? It's one of those things where, hey, if you're driving by and you happen to have the keys to the enclosure and you want to double check and make sure nothing got completely fried, maybe it just needs to be repowered on or something because it was a power outage. Who knows? But in this case, you can actually see the map and it will be very up to date. So that'll help everybody in the system. So stay tuned for that. Up towards the top, of course, you can always search for the cameras by name if you have a particular camera in mind. So good. So that's some of the enhancements for the map feature. Let me go from here into the watch list features. So let's suppose we're looking for a plate. Let's pull up some of the latest plates that we've got out there. And so in this particular case, let's just pick any particular vehicle, doesn't matter. All right, so we got this van. I don't know who this van is, no idea. Let's just pick it here. So when you single click on a single LPR result, you can then get the ability to copy that plate. You can search for that vehicle across the board. You can find nearby video cameras if there are any connected in that area. You can also then click more and you can, print export like you're normally used to, Convoy. And of course, up at the top, we added the add to watch list feature. So the way this works is it's like, hey, that van is suspect. Let's add it to the watch list really quickly so we can immediately start, getting alerts department-wide right off the bat. So you just click add to watch list, pulls it up. You put your tag in there automatically for you. You can pick your state. Quick tip on state. Let me just spend a minute or two on this. The way state works is if you choose a state, like for example, I think this particular plate was a Pennsylvania plate as an example. If you pick a state, then the system is going to take the license plate tag and the state, make sure that both match before it's going to give you a result. Okay. If you don't pick a state, all it's going to do is it's going to try to match just the tag, then send you the alert. So when is that important? Well, keep in mind that at night, it's much more challenging to figure out what the state of a plate is, like Pennsylvania, New Jersey, New York, and so on. The reason for that is a couple things. One, sometimes different license plates have different amounts of reflectivity on them. You've got the crazy license plate frames that cover up like most of the state details. Plates get dirty. When they get dirty, they're not reflective at night very well. And so that infrared just doesn't bounce off the plates as well. And so we lose a lot of that fidelity on the plates. And so at night, basically, it's much more challenging to pick up the state because the details for the state are much, much smaller than the actual tag. Okay, so just FYI on that. Alert description. I'm just going to say test alert. This, whatever you type in here is going to show up and get delivered to whoever's going to receive the alert on the other side. Okay, so just make sure that you type in a descriptive alert. Anything that goes in there will get stamped down on the alert, and also, of course, delivered to everybody. The alerts that everybody receives are pretty simple, especially the ones that are sent out text message. That is deliberate because that's what we agreed on with the Pennsylvania State Police. We went through several conversations with them to make sure that we are CJIS compliant in that regard, because we can't have a bunch of CJIS data flying around through text messaging. Okay, so just FYI on that. So make sure that whatever you put in the alert description is descriptive, because the alert description is not included in the text message, so you're safe there. But I just wanted to throw that out there in case anybody was wondering about the messaging and texts. You can have the plate auto delete itself after whatever number of days you want. Pick that, and then of course you can click next. And then here it's going to essentially present you with a list. Now I'm an admin on the system, and this is a test system, so I've got a whole bunch of watch lists. But let's just go to PlateSmart, right? So I've got a PlateSmart test watch list here. So I'm going to select the watch list that I have permission to. When you see the screen, you will only be presented with those watch lists that you have permission to use. And so you can just quickly pick them from the list, check off the watch list you want to add the plate to, and then click next. It's going to summarize it for you. It's going to say, hey, do you want this plate added to this list? You say, sure, and then you click save. So let's just remember it. So it's the ZXJ plate. So I'm just going to click save, and it adds it to the list. So then if I go back to watch lists, go to PlateSmart. Okay, here's my PlateSmart test. There's my ZXJ plate that I just added. As soon as I click save on that previous screen, the system is now immediately going to be watching for that plate and sending out any alerts in real time. Okay, so that'll be delivered to on screen, text messaging, and email if anybody has subscribed to that list. And also with the watch list and adding vehicles to the watch list, as you saw, there's a couple different places where that little link is present, just to make things easier to work with and easier to send into the watch list. So excited to see about that. Please let us know if some of this stuff helps, and we'd be really happy to get some feedback from the field. Okay, so with that, that essentially is the new features for today's training. Let's hop back over to the slide presentation, and let me go to the next section. So on the feedback, I know I keep mentioning it, but let me just call it out again. Very, very important. So thank you, first of all, for the feedback that we have been receiving. I just want to say, please send us more. So how does that work? Even if you think that a feature or a bug or something has already been communicated, doesn't matter. Send it again. In other words, if you think that your colleague already submitted it, or is like that feature request already came in, please just write us a quick email, give us a phone call, whatever it may be, just let us know about the feature. The reason for that is because the more feedback we get, that helps us a lot when it comes to prioritizing what comes up next, so that we can figure out what's really important to everybody in the field, and then we can take those features and functions and whatnot and make sure that they get put into the system for everybody. So please, yes, any and all feedback, keep it coming. We really, really appreciate it. All right, with that, how to get a hold of us, contact and follow up. Easiest way to do that is essentially contact the support team. There's the email address right there on screen. That's support@platesmart.com. Reason for that is it creates a ticket for you automatically, so you can kind of track it, trace it, right? If you are more of a phone person, feel free, give us a call. That's the number for the front desk. Ask for support, ask for me, and that'll help out as well. And also, we do have a dedicated support page where all this contact information is present. And I believe the contact page has been emailed out. We can resend it and so on. But let me just click on it real quick. Get that popped up here. If I can click on it. There we go. Got to learn how to use my mouse. Okay, good. So here is the page. I've already been here right before the presentation, but typically it's going to show up with a little, hey, you've got to, approve the fact that you are a, Western Pennsylvania law enforcement agent, etc. All right, so up at the top, we've got an area for alerting. So if the system is having challenges or whatnot, if things are going slow that day or something's going on, or we're planning on doing some changes, you will get an alert up here and it'll turn orange and it'll have a brief description of what's going on. Contact details. This is kind of the best way to get a hold of us. Here's Joe Kenya's contact information. He is boots on the ground right there in the Pittsburgh area. So if you need to talk to him in person, if you want him to stop by your agency or whatever reason, that's his direct line and that's his email. Please hit him up. He would be more than happy to stop by, have a conversation, and help out. And here's the rest of the team. There's Kathleen, me, everybody else on the team with our direct emails in case you need to get a hold of us. And this is on the page available. You can hit that up anytime. Below that, we've got some training videos. This was a recording of the previous training session available that will be replaced with the training session that we're recording today. I'll pick the best of the two and post it up there. Give me a day or so for that. And then below that, we got a couple of other videos for your consumption. And then we have some FAQs. So if you want a quick question answered, and you're not ready to talk to anybody or you're after hours or something and something's going on, hit up this FAQ section. That may be of help. If you notice that either an answer needs to be improved or that a question can be added, to the list, then please let us know and be happy to expand that. We're constantly, adding things to the FAQs. Okay, so there's the dedicated support page to help you and get you some info. Let me get back to the presentation. All right, so that takes care of how to get a hold of us and how to contact follow up. And with that, I want to say thank you very much for your time. Let me hop over to the Q&A and let me see what we have. All right. So if you haven't already, this is a good time to find the Zoom toolbar. On the Zoom toolbar, there should be a Q&A icon. So please open that up. Go ahead and type in your questions, and I'll be fielding questions and taking care of them until all of them are done. I got one here in queue so far. And let me see if I can also address some of the questions that were asked earlier. By the way, all this is being recorded, so it's going to be posted. So in case you have to take off or whatnot, you can always come back and check out the Q&A later. All right. So first question from Aaron: is there an easy way to download or create a single printable finder in Cross Search for analysis? Okay. Good question. Let's go back and take a look, and let me see if I understand your question. If I can get to the right spot. Where did it go? All right, hold on. Let me pull up my browser and then, oops. All right, there we go. All right, so let's go back to Cross Search. Let me see if I can answer your question. So, printable folder in Cross Search. All right, so let's suppose we've got our results, right? So let's just go hit search, get some results. All right. So if I understand your question correctly, I think the best way we get to quote unquote printing it, we don't necessarily print it, but we can export it, and you can export the results into Excel, JSON or CSV. That's more of a technical type stuff, but it's available in case you need to upload it into another system. But you can export all these results here into an Excel sheet and then go from there, because essentially it's a list at this point. So that's one thing. You can also do all the results, or of course the filtered results. So all the results, careful, because that's going to be quite a few. But yeah, you can take all those results and then run them through whatever analysis you want to. So that's what we have available for printing purposes. It's not necessarily in a PDF, because we didn't feel like a PDF would be all that useful, because it's basically just a list. It would probably be more useful in like an Excel type format, right? Where you can actually do something with the list. All right, so that's one way of doing it, and that's the whole list of the results. And then the other thing is, if you go into a specific license plate, let's take a look at the timeline. From here, you can also get into, let's see, you can export from here. You can export all the results from this particular vehicle. In other words, all the different time and dates that they showed up at different locations. You can export that. Whoops. You can export that also to Excel in case you need to have record of what's going on. Now here's another thing. You can also search for the vehicle and then go from there. But if I understand you correctly, maybe you can shoot me an answer here, is you would like to see kind of a printable version probably of this particular screen. Is that right? Because that kind of makes more sense than the list. Gotcha, Aaron. Thank you. Okay, yes, I will take that feedback back and we'll see about some sort of a printable version because it looks like, yeah, having this map, which makes sense, right? As a way to, tell folks, hey, look, this is where they've been. This is the most they've been here, and it's actually pretty valuable. So thank you for that. So far, we've got Excel, and we will work on kind of a more report type thing for the printable version. So thank you for that feedback. Very cool. All right. Let me see. Answer that one. Good. So yes, thank you for the feedback, Aaron. All right. All right, so if you've got questions, please put them into the queue. Type them in there, and then I'll take care of them and get them addressed for you right off the bat. Got about 5 or so more minutes. I'll be hanging out until everybody is taken care of. And keep in mind again, we are recording this, so you can always come back and take a look at the Q&A sessions. While we're waiting for a few other questions to come in, let me just kind of mention a few other things of other questions that came in from the morning session. One was, hey, I kind of alluded to this at the beginning, do we have some self-service tools coming up for kind of management of users, etc.? And the answer is yes. That has been on the list for quite a while. And so we are getting there. And we will be getting some of those tools out to everybody to more easily manage, users in the system. Second one was, how about things like vehicles with no plate? All right, so vehicles with no plate, yes. Vehicles with no plate is scheduled to be out by the end of the year, which is exciting. So I know me personally, I can attest, I've been saying this for a while now. Vehicles with no plate is challenging for a variety of different reasons. I can go into some of them if you like, but we are scheduling to get it out in everybody's hands, at least from a testing perspective, by the end of the year. The challenges that we run into, of course, is the noisy part of it, because I've mentioned that several times too. Noisy meaning it's reporting a lot more results than you probably want. So for example, you've got a camera pointing at a roadway, kind of at an angle. You've got a bus, and then you've got the example I used earlier. You got this white Honda Civic, right, that goes into and out of view from the camera because, let's suppose it's like stop and go traffic or something. And you see this Honda go, it's in view a little bit, and then it disappears behind the bus, and it comes out in front of the bus or what's on. And so things like that, especially on a busy roadway, it's like, how many times do you want to report the fact that there was a white Honda Civic there, right? With no plate. And so that's where it gets weird, because tracking that car with AI when it's visible, and then when it completely disappears, and then when it reappears later, and still define that it's still the same car, a little tricky. And so that's kind of the stuff that we're trying to fine tune and hone in on, because otherwise it gets a little noisy when it comes to the results. So that is scheduled to be out by the end of the year for testing purposes, and then hopefully once we get a good understanding from the field, like in the wild, that we know it's behaving well, then of course we'll release it to everybody. So stay tuned for that. So that was another question that was asked earlier. Another question that was asked earlier was motorcycle plates. So let me kind of address that. Motorcycle plates are interesting, and I can say this because I was a former biker. I had a few motorcycles. For those of us who are in the motorcycling community, we tend to be a little bit on the renegade side. And we tend to mount our plates in a variety of different locations because, that's just who we are. All right. So we put them sideways, we put them horizontally, we put them vertically. Anyway, so that makes it challenging. We try to flip them up, right? We're on a sport bike. You guys know more about this than I do, I'm sure. So with that, yes, motorcycle plates are kind of difficult to capture sometimes, but the more important piece is motorcycle plates are about half the size of a regular license plate for a vehicle. And so that makes it challenging, simply because if we wanted to catch motorcycle plates, which we can and actually do now, um, but if you want to catch them much more reliably, the easiest way to do that is simply we have to take the cameras and zoom them in, because that motorcycle plate is literally about half the size of a regular plate. And so everything's smaller, right? The characters are smaller, everything. And so if we want to get the fidelity on that plate, we've literally got to zoom in. So when you do that, though, there's trade-offs, right? So if you have a camera that's normally covering 2 lanes and you want to focus on motorcycle traffic, so if you do have a roadway that you have a lot of motorcycle traffic on, and you want to focus on it, let us know and we can take a look at it and evaluate it, because basically the first thing we got to do is just zoom that camera in. So we'll go from 2 lanes down to like 1 lane, to make sure that those license plates on the motorcycles show up large enough that we can detect them. Now, so that's number one. And number two is take that and couple it with what I just mentioned earlier, and that is no plate situation. When we start detecting no plate or vehicles with no plates on them, that will also start to take care of some of this motorcycle stuff, right? Because motorcycles have smaller plates mounted in weird places, etc. Motorcycles are considered, moving objects in terms of, vehicles on a roadway. And so therefore that no plate thing should also pretty well cover the whole motorcycle thing too. So stay tuned for that. In other words, if we don't see the plate because it's mounted in some weird way, of course, we will report the fact that there was a vehicle here with no plate, but you can at least have the result there, and you can look at it by time, date, camera, and possibly some other attributes, right? So stay tuned for that one. Folks, it is 1 minute past the hour, so I want to be respectful. There are no more questions currently in queue. I'll be sticking around until everybody kind of leaves, in case you do have a question coming up. But so far, I think we've got everything taken care of for now. Let me see if there's another question I can remember from earlier. We got users, motorcycles, no plate. I did mention New Jersey. We're going to be coming out with that news. It's very exciting. And then I think that was about it. So those are the main questions from last time. So I think we've covered all the questions that we have now. So all the content that we intended to cover, we've covered. So if you want to drop at this point, feel free. I will be posting the recording on the support page, and we'll be sending out an email on that, giving you a day or so to get that posted, and then you can take a look at that, review it, and also pass it around to your colleagues if they weren't able to join this afternoon. So with that, I'll say thank you again very much for making time out of your day. Much appreciated. If you'd like, you can drop at this point. Otherwise, if you do have some other questions, feel free and hang around and post your questions in the Q&A button or on the Q&A button in Zoom. I'd be happy to take care of them. Otherwise, thanks again, and look forward to getting your feedback in the field once we launch these features later today or at the latest tomorrow. So thanks again, everybody. Alrighty, folks, thanks so much for attending. It's 2:06. I don't have any new questions. So with that, just want to say thank you one last time. Appreciate everybody's being on. And I'll bring this webinar to a close. Otherwise, thanks again, and look forward to getting everybody's feedback. Have a good day. Take care. Bye-bye.